Okay. Once again, less than looking like a super professional in this video that I'm sending to my East coach.
We're on a PD day.
I know, this is what happened last time.
We only meet on PD days.
Apparently, yeah. Like we're here in a baseball cap. Just kidding.
Get ready to win today.
It's great, guys. Okay, everybody. If you all can go ahead and pull up that Strong Start document if you're not already in it. I'm the last person to join it, so I've got an anonymous narwhal in there. Matt is in there. I guess you're the anonymous.
Oh, apparently I'm not signed in.
Okay. And then now I got Mr. Melvin. Beautiful. Let's jump in. Our icebreaker for today. I'm trying to keep them all very much high school related. So imagine you regained access to your MySpace page. What song is likely playing on it from high school? Give y'all some think time. Okay. Well then, fine.
I'll be able to answer.
I was like, I can answer. Okay.
That was like a thing? A song played on it?
Yes,
Yeah.
you don't remember this?
I never had MySpace. I
MySpace
against
was dead
social
by the
media.
time I was in high school.
Okay.
That fits for you.
The only
MySpace
reason
was dead by the time I was in high school.
Okay, well then
But I'll
what
pull up
is
a
a
song.
song that you would have if to communicate to the world your mood, your emotions, your feelings, what have you? What was that song?
The only reason I joined Facebook was to extort a fraternity who had burned newspapers at my college.
Also tracks.
You know, extort because I said I'm going to either expose you to campus security for what you did, or you're going to give me a bunch of money. And they gave me a bunch of money, and we bought T-shirts for the newspaper staff that year.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So anyway, we can overround. I'm gonna start with Matt.
Yeah.
What would have been your song?
I can't remember what the song would be, but it'd be most likely something by the All American Rejects.
Heck yes!
Just thinking that.
Like, I have vivid memories of just playing them on loop, mowing the lawn on a Saturday, pissed off. It's like.
Well, what was that? Move Along. What was that the
Move Along.
song?
Move
Move
Along.
Along. Is that the one where he's mowing?
I think
There is
well,
a video.
there is an album.
where he's mowing the lawn in the
It's
video.
The All American Rejects
Yeah, like it's-
self-titled album is a lawnmower on
Yeah,
the
it's
front.
just right there.
Love that.
Oh yeah, I would just cycle through them. But yeah, All American Rejects. I was into them in high school.
Mine would have been Helena by My Chemical Romance. I actually think that probably was the last song I was playing. It also was my ringtone on my rocker cell phone for a little bit. I was a big My Chemical Romance fan to the point where a couple of years ago we were supposed to make presents for a Secret Santa thing.
I just need to be able to picture this.
And I said my version of making a present was choreographing an interpretive dance to my Black Parade. So that was my present to her, which I ran out of breath because it's a very long song.
A little long song.
I was very winded. More.
I went through a phase where I really thought I was edgier than I was in high school. Didn't we all? And I think it would have been Flagpole Sitta by Harvey Danger.
What?
That's alright, I'm gonna play flag.
It's
Pole.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, you
Sitta.
typed that. Oh,
Oh,
I know
okay.
this song.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I will kick it to Michael and then Jimmy, you'll finish this out. But the prompt is imagine you regained access to your MySpace page. What song is likely playing on it from high school? So I'll let you just think that over. But Michael, what's your song?
So mine would have been Next Year by the Foo Fighters. I was into Foo Fighters very much in high school. And then got into Nirvana. And got into all.
Yeah, I also had a Foo Fighters phase.
Yeah. It's still going. They still going strong.
Yeah, they
Don't say
are.
it's a phase, Matt. They still going.
It's
Then now it's full on dad rock. You can
Yeah.
embrace
It's
it.
definitely Dad Rock.
It's 100% dad
Matt
rock.
loves dad rock.
Yeah.
If you ever walked into basketball practice when Matt and I were coaching together, you would see a lot of very sad basketball players listening to Bruce Springsteen.
Nice.
They weren't sad. It was fun.
Matt and I were having fun.
What's
Can
your
you think of a song that defined your life?
I literally went to my high school, like I have.
You got it up still?
Yeah.
Wow.
So every time a song comes on, I'm like, oh, I was in high school, and I add it to my little.
Okay. Oh, I'm excited.
I need to do that.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
So high school.
Yes.
Let's go with. Man, dang, I don't know how old I am. I'm gonna play more.
She's so cute. You can just take mine.
My laptop.
Oh, yes.
Oh no.
I didn't take it.
Be rude.
We hit it. Good luck.
Let's see. This is very generic, so y'all won't guess. Bills, bills, bills.
Okay. Love that. Okay. Well, thank you all. We were. There it is.
Okay.
Beautiful. Oh, that was it? Okay.
I gotta keep going. I
No,
didn't
no,
know.
it's
I don't
fine,
wanna
it's
interrupt
fine.
your
We got a
space.
playlist now we can run in the background of our meeting. Right?
Yeah. Awesome. So now we're just gonna quickly follow up and then we'll dive into the meat of our meeting today. But I do want to kick it to first Maura because you had your Strong Start teacher meeting where I think they rolled out Elevate platform. So if you could provide more context for us because I'm still relatively unfamiliar.
Yes, so I can actually pull it up really quickly, but basically next week, next week is when I'll probably be giving the PERTS survey, the Elevate survey on PERTS. Students are already populated into it, so it'll be super easy for them to log in. They just have to use their email. So when we're in the platform, I think from what I understand, only I'll have full access to the intricacies of all of the data. We'll be able to see things like which individual students completed the survey, but not what their individual responses are. There's a few, here's this is the start of it, but there's a few different questions that they'll go through, and we can actually preview the survey so you guys can see what those questions look like. And so a thing that it just did to me, which what it will do to kids, is if they hit the next button too quickly, it won't let them progress. It'll tell them to stop and read carefully, which is nice. Kids can skip questions, so you can hit the, there we go, preview survey button.
Which is where?
For each
right here.
class,
Where it says-
yeah.
I see it now. I can read.
And so it'll pull up the survey, it'll give them this, and they gave us some really helpful like planning documents for how to plan rolling this out to students. There's student facing slides, things like that, to explain what the point of this is. And the Strong Start team from the foundation chose the sections that this survey will hit on. Students are answering the questions just for how they feel in my class, not for how they feel in all of 9th grade. They can skip a question, and when we look at the data, it won't count the skip as a low response, it'll just not count it, and we'll be able to see if students are regularly skipping questions. And then at some point, hopefully it'll show in the preview, but kids will randomly be asked to expand on different questions. So if all of us were to take this survey right now, we would probably all be asked to expand in written format on a different question. You can see the written responses, but again, can't see which kids wrote what. And then we'll be able to track over time how this data changes. Mariah has already shared with us the goal of 90% of students having that agree and strongly agree with the belonging survey data. The PERTS people named that's quite a hefty goal, but that means that not that it's not achievable, but when we are looking at the data from the first run through, that they basically talked about looking at it as like a pre-test. And so when they gave us some really helpful things of like, so there's the expansion, and it'll be randomized for every kid,
Cool.
but it's the same prompt. And then when we were looking at that original data, we'll be able to see where does it stand now, and then looking at where it breaks these questions into different categories. of like what they actually assess, and you can click through like different suggested change ideas based on which category is lacking the most. And so we can focus, once we have this data, on the different categories that students are scoring the lowest, like the strongly disagree sections, to be able to pick what ones do we want to actually focus on, and what change ideas are possible to do that with. And these will update on Mondays. We just don't have anything yet. But yeah, it should be great. I don't know why the number enrolled is.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, because it's the focal group. So that's students with IEPs.
Got it.
And so when I went in and uploaded all of this data, or uploaded all the students into PERTS, it said like, is the student a part of your focal group? And so I checked yes for all of our students with IEPs and just IEPs.
Okay.
Makes sense.
I was like, why is it so much higher in my 7th block?
Because-
And that's
Because
what
yeah.
because it's the focal group. So we'll be able to hopefully see that data's difference for our focal group with their belonging surveys compared to our students without IEPs.
Cool. Okay. I'm excited. I'm excited to get that first round of data.
Yes.
Next week.
And we'll kind of be able, I think the part of the intention during the time that we're in Chicago is to be able to really dive into that data. That's what it seemed like, since we'll all be kind of getting it back right before we go.
Great.
Is there an acronym?
Which
Parts.
Yes, but I don't know what it's
Okay.
for. I think it's just the website.
Also don't know.
I was like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're all on the same
Right,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
I think it's just the platform that Elevate runs on. I have no idea.
As long as it's not lost.
Platform of education
Resource.
reports to survey.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Okay. So we're gonna do a shorter version of looking at the On Track dashboard today, looking at trends, because I want to actually spend the bulk of our time going through that retakes document and for us to assign roles and start like getting really in the nitty gritty. But I do want us to still look at where we are, and so you don't have, if you want to take notes in this table, you can. Otherwise, just start thinking about what are some trends that we're noticing, what may be behind this, and then how can we use this data to make this retakes initiative even stronger. So I'm gonna give us just 5 minutes to look through our On Track dashboard.
Primarily the weekly data entry tab.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, yeah. The weekly data entry tab. And the grade book, just as a FYI, is not going to be updated until tomorrow. So that's why that row is still blank. But you can see what it was last week when I did the grade book check.
I know certain people had followed up with you
Yeah.
based on the emails, right?
Yeah.
Martin, Lundgren.
Yeah, so that's higher now. It will be higher now, but I just am not checking it until tomorrow. And if we don't need the whole time, we can. We ready to start sharing our thoughts? Great. Cool. So we can just like whip around, like what are we noticing in terms of trends, and then like what do we think potentially is driving it? But I will start. I'm gonna kick it off to Maura first.
Yeah, so I mean, we have slight increases, right? We went from like 8 to 13. We dropped from 84 to 71 in students failing. A smaller margin with our students with IEPs failing one or more course, but we are very, very limitedly progressing, which is good. I think a lot of that has to do with like retakes, students getting used to systems, students actually being able to see their grades in grade books and realizing that, you know, they are failing and they need to be doing that work, but also like the implementation of retakes in class, things like that are starting to bring grades up. But like I said, we're still, 96% of students with IEPs failing one course and more is better than 99, but it's still far too many.
Shania.
I'm looking over here at like the grade books. I know there was a push again this last week, I think it was, for like making sure that grade books are current. And I see the trend. Updated grade books, like that looks more consistent. Am I reading that correctly? Like looking at column BV. Well, not column BV, but row 15.
Yeah, so that was for like, did they have grades in so we could start communicating it, and then the accuracy was the following week. And so that's what, so it was like, do we have grades in the grade book, and now are the grades that we have in the grade book,
Are they accurate?
are they actually reflective of our policies? Yeah.
And then looking like over the from BT to BB, like it was there's a weeks, right? You go by weeks.
Yep.
And so 2 weeks in a row, no. So hopefully that continues to trend in the positive, since there was a push for more accurate grade books, updated and accurate. Because I hear kids talking all the time, like they're looking, they're like, oh, my grades aren't in there.
Yep.
And if it is, like it's not, so
Yeah.
they're looking. So hopefully the push from both the kids and admin is like making teachers, like holding them accountable to
Yep.
doing it.
Mr. Melvin?
So kind of what Maura said, tiny growth in terms of fails. IEP students are still failing too many courses. The question I'm kind of thinking about, and I'm basing this on the fact that when I was entering grades for my class this week, this week is like,
It was the year-long week.
what? Yeah. This week was, I was putting in like a minor summative, like exit ticket based on a specific skill, right? And like I put it in, and then I noticed that like, oh yeah, there's not a lot of like movement in the grade book. So let's say like you did poorly on it, because like I have my one major summative that's in there from the beginning of the year. And so I'm wondering about like, while I think it's great, right? Like we get the movement in terms of like retakes and things like that. Is that then why we see a minuscule growth pattern? Because like if you have like, so let's say you did your major summative 3 weeks into the year, right? And let's say that's out of 50 points, and then you have maybe like 1 or 2 minor summatives which are out of 10, like that 50 points at the end of the day is still going to be weighted more. And so
Ideally, it's you are collecting data and using the minor summatives to inform how students are going to be performing on that major summative. So if you've got 5 standards that you're assessing on that major summative, ideally you've got like a minor summative for each of those standards in the grade book, so like it's 50 and 50.
right.
And so it should, like those points are a little bit more even.
Right. I'm wondering if that, because you use the phrase ideal, like I'm wondering if that's truly, I'm just even thinking, and again, like I'm just like trying to think about, yeah, because like when we look at grade books, and even though I know like in the Weekly Warrior we're saying things like you're not beholden to like a certain amount of assignments each week, but like even to what you just said, if we were to look at most grade books, I would imagine at most like we're thinking like 7 assignments or something like that. And let's say a grade book has like 2 summatives in there, 40 points, right? Like in theory then there should be 8 minors throughout, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I think that that's absolutely something for us to keep on our radar. I will say one of the trends that I noticed and maybe pull up is a lot of teachers did not have a major summative in yet.
Gotcha.
And so like I was kind of doing my like little tracker thing here, and like I was tracking to see who had major summatives, and most teachers did not.
Gotcha.
So I think like that's something that we definitely need to be auditing for, is like what is the balance. But I, like, as of now, a lot of teachers have not input that or had that. I think some of them are having it this week. And so I think we'll be able to have a clear answer to that when I do the audit tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Mine's a wondering, because we saw some movement, from 8 to 13%, 84 to 71. That means that movement happens somewhere, and I'm curious what the trend is in the classes where that movement happens. Around, like, are they the ones who are implementing the retake structure with fidelity that's leading to the increase in pass rates? Just an anecdotal thing, I was looking at Christopher's grade book with him in 03, and I know there's been some struggles with getting retakes implemented, and students actually did pretty well in their summative, major summative, but the minor summatives is what's dragging the grade book down because of for all the students who are failing, because either lack of retake opportunity or lack of the students taking advantage of it. So I'm really curious to see like where that movement happens, so that we can figure out what like worked and is that actually in line with what we're thinking for the retake push.
I have a question. How are those opportunities, for lack of a better word, publicized?
The retakes.
Yeah, so and that's perfectly segues into this next part. So
Can I grab one more thing for the data before we do that?
right, I know, like that's
really
crazy.
But it was perfect.
It was a
Anyways.
perfect
You
segue.
I'm just the ruiner. One of the things that we've been talking about with our focus group, that Melvin and I have talked about recently, but that I'm concerned about when we're looking at how many of our students with IEPs are failing, is that because of how long it took to get a lot of our students into Infinite Campus, there are a lot of students when schedules were being built for 9th graders that we did not know had IEPs. And then the co-taught classes that they should be in are too full, and so kids aren't getting their services.
There's a lot of things we're working in there. There's a lot of students in 9th grade that came to us from other schools that we didn't even know they had IEPs when they enrolled.
Yeah, and that's what
And
I'm
so that's
saying.
where
Like,
that's where the gap is.
it
right?
popped up so late, and like it's not
Yeah.
Jasmine doing anything wrong or
Yeah.
Jess doing anything wrong. It's just the circumstance that we came into. But now there's no room for them to be getting their services, and like I know that those kids are like in my class, they are failing right now, but also they should be in a co-taught class. Some of them are in honors, and like that gap is not all of our students with IEPs and 504. It's not the only thing contributing to that very low data. But for all of the students who are not in the positions that they should be in, we're almost a quarter of the way through the year and they're still not in the appropriate classes for their support levels. And I'm concerned that like for those students we might be doing GPA damage.
I think for that specific, have stuff meeting with Jasmine,
Yeah.
follow up there. I think for our time together, we should switch gears and say.
Great.
So,
That's your question.
I
There
was
it is.
So how are
I'm gonna just cut out Mora's question here in the middle so we can.
how are we publicizing the retake?
Beautiful. That's a perfect segue. If you all want to click on in the name it section, the 9th grade retakes planning doc. So this is sort of the draft version, and thank you, Michael Mora, for giving me feedback on it. But this is our plan to really go after the retakes system in the school. And so, if you haven't gotten a chance to like look through it, that's okay. We'll sort of like tackle the roles and responsibilities section, beef up that with what we need, and then we can start going through the timeline and assigning roles. And so I think to your question, if we're on that second page of the roles and responsibilities section, I've divided it into stakeholders. So students, teachers, us, instructional coaches, and families. Everybody that's going to be really pushing this initiative and making it successful or impacted by the initiative. And so with students, I think that your question was like, how are we communicating this to them? And so thinking about like the rollout, the buy-in strategy. So what are those incentives that we want to give them? We've already, the tracker is up. We need to be updating it when we have it. And so we'll also be doing a rollout and advisory on Monday. But what other ideas do you all have for like rolling this out, publicizing this for students? specifically.
So I have to leave in 2 minutes, so you know.
I think we can make good use of data posters in classrooms. So like that's a really, like if teachers are publicizing what the threshold is, which should be, that goal should be on the data posters anyway, and you can see our goal has not been met, like that can be the visual threshold for kids for full class retakes compared to individual retakes. Teachers would then know their thresholds, but also kids can see, so they can look up to that poster and be like, oh, our goal was 70% of us and we're at 50, so we're probably going to do a whole class retake, right? And that's clarity for both teachers and for students, and accountability both ways. And putting the thing on Clever, I think, was a great idea.
Yeah, I was gonna say like either Google Classroom or some sort of email blast.
Unless Clever goes down again.
Never,
Right.
I'll never do that.
National outages.
Didn't happen.
I think ways we can leverage advisory as well.
Yeah.
Executive functioning day. Either on Kit Forward Friday, partnering there with next to GPA.
Melvin, you brought something up about that during grade level meetings from Tuesday, with one of the things to look for to help advisors be able to do that is to make sure that people are actually using the descriptions in their standards for minor summatives. Because like Melvin was asking kids like, okay, what do you need to make up? And he would look at it with them and they'd be like, he's like, okay, so what does that mean? What is that kid actually struggling with?
Yeah.
What is the thing? And so when we're looking at accuracy and fidelity, making sure the kids can understand, and advisors and families.
Yeah, when I did the audit, like it was broken down into the like, did they have grades? Were they following the right naming convention? Was it standards aligned? All that. But part of the naming convention was like, did they have like a description? And I left notes here. It needs to be more descriptive.
Yeah.
And so when I sent the follow up emails to teachers, like I was very clear, like you need to add a description to like, and so the fix was, or the feedback was there. So hopefully we see an increase in that specifically, so that it is more clear on the student facing. But that definitely needs to be something that's top of mind.
I'm wondering, and you might have, I don't know if you talked about this in the internalization meeting just a second ago, but like, as teachers consider internalizing their Q2, like, and mapping it out, like building in potential days for whole class retakes.
Yes. I didn't mention that, but it's going to be, I actually meant to, so that's a miss on my part. One of the things that Kate does is like I think like the day before any major summative, yeah, she does like it's like a review or like a retake day, and like and I think that that's a great way also to leverage teachers with the retake system as well.
Because that's just, yeah, exactly, because like if you're retaking, and if we're to the fidelity that you spoke of for the grade books, all they're doing then is reviewing for that major summative.
Yes.
They're reviewing the skill that they're, I think
Yeah.
that's, and I think also that gets at what Katie brought up in grade level the other day, like not feeling like you have to hunt down students for, and I think then the only other piece is like for teachers to consider like where do those retakes need to fall versus like the individual one-offs, right? And like where is your threshold for, oh, this is a whole class retake versus, oh, this is a one-off, but yeah, that's great.
One thing, and I'll name this, but I don't know if we'll have time today, but I want it to be top of mind that I realized I missed when looking at the stakeholders was, I just bucketed students, but I think to sort of the points that you all were making earlier, the students who have IEPs or receive supports actually we should be thinking about how can we make sure that they're leveraging the retake systems, and that is top of mind. And so I think that they should also be sort of their own category as well as stakeholders. And like I said, we can brainstorm that a little bit later. But I want that to be something that we come back to, because they definitely will want to be more intentional with that being our focal group. Teachers, roll out buy-in strategies.
Yeah.
Oh, this actually should be in, not the roll out buy-in strategies. Because I wanted to make sure teachers are invested in this, because that's also how this is going to be successful. Part of it was like me, hopefully it being as low lift as possible on teachers is a buy-in strategy. But what else do we think will help teachers feel successful or opting into it?
I think I'm always a firm believer in like utilize the structures that we have in place. So this could be done via like, if we're talking about grade books in coaching meetings, if we're talking about, so like that's like one constant action. So, okay, look through your minor summatives. Do you need to do a whole class reteach? Do you need to do, or a whole class retake, minor, like that sort of
Use
thing?
that thing in our coaching note, and something like that I think could be really helpful.
Yeah.
I think we can also think about it through the lens of grade levels and even building in as like a check-in within grade levels, like are there similar, so Devontae had us fill out like a thing the other day for like the major summatives coming up.
Yep.
But similar to that, we could fill in some like a quick slide that we incorporate into advisory slides that says like, here are your major retake days coming up in blank classes or something, you know, like just again, like try to just like be as clear as possible. And then like always like at the bottom of that slide, if you have something that you need to retake, use this form or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's like Matt had kind of started doing this in the Weekly Warrior of last week. But I wonder if there's a way to build in like either like competition or celebration, or like we've done like thresholds for breakfast or like something like that with retakes, and specifically around retake growth, right? Because like we also want to make sure that retakes are being done functionally and not just like here's the same quiz, go.
Yeah. I think with that, I think we tier it, right? It's like the first one's like, let's get the retakes happening. We're gonna incentivize that, and then the next layer is like the next week or the next 2 weeks is like retake growth. Yeah.
Something very small. I don't know. We'll just throw this out there.
Throw it
But all right. Like dress down for teachers. That's an easy way to get buy-in.
True.
Or free things, coffee
Free,
or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Give them some shit they didn't know they were gonna get.
Correct. Surprises.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be applying for the ACE Innovation Funds. So like we'll have a budget hopefully, and creating a plan for that. But like last year we just got money, but then like Regents had a really hard time spending it. Like it was just hard to figure out how to
spend
Wow.
money. Wow.
It's surprising.
Sometimes.
Do you know, that's how we got those iPads with that money. Like and like it, because it was $5,000-$10,000. It was a lot of money. We had a lot of money that we were spending last year.
It's a
And
good problem to have.
it was hard to
Right.
spend it. So now I think they realize this, and so like we have to now apply for either $2,500 or $5,000 with like a clear plan of how we're gonna spend it. That's also how we got these jackets. Is like through the ACE funds. It's for students who pass an AP exam.
Cute.
AP3.
That's why it's the 3. I was wondering what
Yeah.
that was.
AP3 club.
I was like, what does that even mean?
AP3 baby.
Um,
It's a gang. It's fine.
Very good. I always
Yeah.
go. I always
Okay, so
appropriate.
they're all set.
Great. Cool. So then like with us, I think, well, it says like rollout buy-in strategies. Hopefully we're all bought in. If we're not, well, that's a problem. I think we'll circle back to that because that will just come with what our actions are to really work to invest and build opt-in with everybody else. Instructional coaches, Matt sort of does an instructional coach PD sequence. We can have him go through them for those like using the existing structures part. I think our next sort of big rock here is families. So investing families to really be supportive of their students taking retakes. Any and all ideas.
When's our first parent
October.
conference?
October 20-something, I think.
Okay, I feel like that would be something like in terms of thinking about having a room that kind of goes through like throughout the day of like academic I know it was gone. I imagine it was gone over during the family thing at the beginning, but that was like probably a lot of information. But like something that like maybe SLT could rotate throughout the day. Yeah, and just have like here's our academic policy, here's how this works, here's what retake. I think also, right, so in that same lens, embedding that within the conversations that teachers are having with families on report card. You know, like how we kind of say, like, sometimes we give out the script and say, like, try to follow this, like, sort of, like, make sure, and, like, maybe if it's, like, if your scholar is failing, like, make sure you're doing this specific thing, talking about, here are the opportunities, here's how I communicate, and, like, if teachers don't have that plan, that's, like, a point for reflection to think about, well, how do I put that in place?
Yeah.
Because we can also just like make, and like the nice thing about Dean's List is it can be saved by like you and be accessed by everybody.
Yep.
But we can make a pre-built message to send to families of like, hey, your student failed this minor summative. This retake will happen in class. Or hey, your student failed this minor summative. They can ask for a retake.
Using
This is
link.
how they
Yeah.
ask for a
Yeah.
retake.
Mhm.
There is a link that's in there. Clever. Please encourage your student to advocate to retake this assessment.
Yep, I think that's great.
I know how to do
Yeah.
the bulk send
Mhm.
and Dean's List
Mm-hmm.
where it puts their name.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That was
And like you can even auto populate it to do that,
Yeah.
or like auto save it to do that.
Yeah.
And like that's how I send out all of my minor
Mhm.
summative stuff. I send for like excellence and growth, but like we can still send it for retake stuff.
And that is actually, so then did I already mention like grade levels too is like a place that we can put that? Because I remember last year I did that all the time right before conferences, right? Like I used your specific template, said here's what Mora does. You wanna steal it? Great, fucking steal it. Here
Oh,
it
the
is.
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
child is failing for
Yeah,
X reason.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that.
Um,
I like that a lot.
I also think finding
No, go ahead.
I also think finding a way, right now, the way that Illuminate exists, it took out parent logins. And
We've had parent logins in years.
so, yeah. So, we used to, once upon a time.
I think like it's been gone for like 3 years.
It's been a
I think
while.
it was there for your first year, and then
And
it's
maybe
out.
that was
Like,
it.
nah, those
It's
parents just
so-
take too much.
There's a reason why it's some sort of weird data team reason. We asked about getting that fixed or restored, and I can't remember why we couldn't.
Like, nah.
But like we tried, cause yeah.
But I think that means since parents have to get kids' logins, we can send it to them, that's fine. But some way to give more accessibility for families so they're not only reliant on progress reports. Because right now, unless their kid shares their Illuminate grades, parents can't check them until they get a progress report, and we don't send them
Yeah.
out as often as, not that I think we have a problem with how often we send out progress reports, but we don't send them out as often as we would want parents to check grades, or families to check grades.
Yeah. Well, right now, me and Illuminate are fighting.
That's fair.
Because it's not letting me.
You and Matt H are fighting? Or whoever. I learned that there's a whole data team earlier this week, which I had no
You
idea.
didn't know there was a data team?
Well, not data team, but like you're not like I was always thought I was under the impression that any like data issue I just sent an email to Matt H and he was like, please follow the protocol. I was like, bro, someone told me, bro. Show Matt H. Don't need your tone.
Yeah, I think this is great. One thing we did last year, and I think we can bring back, is when we were incentivizing students to do like their academic reflection, which we will also utilize. There were 2 weeks, I think, when we sent out a survey home for parents to do like an academic check-in, and they got entered into a raffle for whatever it was we were trying to give out. And so I think also like incentivizing like at-home check-ins, at-home grade check-ins. Great, cool. I think those are awesome ideas. So in our last 4 minutes, if you all look at that last page, page 4, I want us to start sort of taking different parts, especially where it says like strong start team. If we can start like owning a part of this plan. So we did this, and we did this. Great. So I can own, or somebody else can own, the creating a student-facing rollout for Monday's advisory. I already have like a template and stuff for that, so I can probably just do that. And then the other thing. So great. So providing the family-facing messaging in the Warrior Post. Does anyone want to do that?
Wouldn't that just be echoing what you're rolling out to students more or less?
Yes.
It would be different.
it only like different would be like checking it, like it'd be like check in with your student, like this is the, like it would be like a review of the policies and then
Mhm.
like what, it also wouldn't be in slideshow form. It would
Right.
be in,
If I can just take what you do and then make it, and then you just give me feedback on it, I'll do it.
perfect, great. Okay. I forgot Resv for the preview instructional
That makes
coaches.
sense.
Tracking retakes and update the academics bulletin board. For I think these other ones we can probably determine when we meet next. I'll own the hosting of the retakes on School After Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday, and then the like next two, and then when we meet, we can, I think probably assign the other things. Right now, I just want to blast out messaging.
Yep. That makes sense.
I can build the Dean's List templates.
Oh yeah, perfect.
For families,
Great.
and then I can show anybody who doesn't know how to use the saved templates and do the mass sends with the thing, with the names, how to do that so that they can access those templates. And I can build one for your student failed this assessment full class retake day, and I can build one for individual retake as well.
Cool. When do you, when will you be able to do that?
I can do it by Monday.
Okay, that's a quicker turnaround. Well, great. So I'll put it
It
on the
shouldn't take a
spot.
long time.
It's fine. I'm gonna put the 20th only because I didn't want to ruin my order of my dates.
I'll accept more time.
Cool.
So the tracking retake and academic bulletin board. Tell me more.
Yes. So part of this, and like we'll still need to finalize it, but it's like we want to start like publishing how many retakes each grade is advocating for. If you look on the first page, you can see the retake survey that students will complete. They will probably need edits, but this is the first draft of it, and so whenever they submit it, we'll have a Google Sheets where we can be tracking how many retakes for each grade.
Okay.
And then there's that bulletin board in the main lobby
Just
now where
update
we just will update it. And so it's just like once a week we go in and change the numbers and then say this was the winner this week. And so, but we won't have like firm numbers for that for a couple weeks because obviously we're not rolling that out. And so that can also be something when we meet in Chicago and things that we can also assign those roles to.
You can put me down for that.
Beautiful.
Can we add in that survey, if students say no, they haven't reached out to their teacher, can we add a why?
Mm-hmm.
I just,
You know,
I answer that question a lot. Like
Me
when
too.
they do come in reset, like they're talking about grades, they're talking like they talk about everything. But I tell them like, have you reached out to your teacher? Like send them an email. What email?
That's the face they probably make.
Actually, no. 'Cause I
No?
don't do the face.
Oh.
I think no, and I think that that's perfect because part of this is we're trying to figure out is the gap teacher systems or is it students are just not
Well,
taking
now
advantage?
I
and
will
this would be
say the
helpful.
answer that I get from that is that they don't get responses.
and sometimes that's true, right? Like, definitively. Sometimes it's true, sometimes
Just don't.
their responses are like they get told no.
Yeah.
And like that's
That's a
another thing that
response.
we need to know to address because
Right.
like unless the reason is no, we've already taken the unit assessment for this,
Right.
then that shouldn't be a no.
Yeah.
Right? And so if we're seeing an overwhelming amount of students
Yeah.
saying like I haven't asked my teacher because every time I ask they say no, like we need to know that.
Yeah, and I think so. Actually,
Or it's just not answered.
yes, I'll update this because I think that both of those are spot on. I think it's like if you say yes, because this is more of just like I want to make sure students know that they need to get the work to bring to the retake session. But also I think it's part of like yes, and it's like
Right.
if you said yes, it's like did you receive a response?
And of course,
Like,
that's just a small sample size too.
No, but I think that like
Yeah.
for us to start pinpointing what the gap is, we need to do that. Okay, cool. I'm excited, y'all.
I have to leave because I have a meeting. But
Awesome, cool, great. So we've got those that document for those next steps. Make sure whatever organizational system you've got, you know what you're doing, and whew,
Great.
and break.
Good job.
Right, there's like
You're in the sports gear. You're in the sports
I know.
mode.